We've all been there, drawn like a magnet to someone who deep down we know is not right for us, yet the pull feels irresistible. The mind says stay away, but the heart races forward. This confusing paradox leaves many of us wondering, why do we keep chasing the very people who hurt us, dismiss us, or simply cannot give us what we deserve? The answer lies deep in the psychology of human behavior, a mix of hidden wounds, chemical reactions, and unconscious patterns that keep us stuck in a cycle of chasing the wrong people. There's something almost intoxicating about wanting what we can't fully have. When a person feels just out of reach, it creates a pull that can be stronger than genuine love or compatibility. The allure of the unavailable is not accidental. It's deeply rooted in psychology. The human mind is wired to attach more value to scarcity. If something or someone feels limited, our brain convinces us it must be more desirable, more special, more worth pursuing. This scarcity effect doesn't just apply to luxury goods or rare experiences, it applies to people as well. When someone withholds their affection, their attention becomes rare currency and our desire for them intensifies. We start to equate their distance with value, as though winning them would validate our own worth. The chase then becomes more than just romance. It turns into a psychological game of pursuit. Every small breadcrumb of attention they give us feels magnified. A single compliment after days of silence feels like gold. A short reply after ignoring us for hours feels like proof that maybe, just maybe, they're interested. This pattern keeps us hooked because intermittent attention is far more addictive than constant attention. Our minds crave the high of uncertainty. We begin to mistake the thrill of unpredictability for passion and the difficulty of winning them over for depth of connection. In reality, the attraction is often more about the chase than the person themselves. What's fascinating is that the unavailable person doesn't even need to be extraordinary. Their power lies not in who they are, but in what they withhold. By being distant, avoidant, or inconsistent, they trigger something primal in us. They make us believe we have something to prove. We tell ourselves that if we can finally win their love, it will mean we are worthy, attractive, and significant. But that belief is an illusion. The unavailable person becomes a mirror reflecting back our insecurities. The stronger we chase, the more we reveal the silent wounds that drive us. The fear of not being chosen, the fear of not being enough. The allure of the unavailable, then, is not truly about them, it's about us. It exposes how easily our self-worth can become entangled in someone else's approval. And until we see this clearly, we remain trapped in the cycle, running after people who do not meet us halfway, convinced that the chase itself is love when it is only a desperate attempt to fill the emptiness left by unhealed wounds. From the very beginning of our lives, the way we receive love shapes the way we later pursue it. Childhood is where the blueprint of our attachments is written, and those early experiences become the silent architects of our adult relationships. When a child grows up with parents who are warm, consistent, and emotionally present, love feels safe. That child learns that closeness is natural, that affection does not come and go like the wind, but when love is inconsistent. Sometimes there, sometimes withdrawn, the nervous system adapts in a very different way. Affection becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability becomes the standard for what love feels like. As adults, this early wiring often draws us to the very same dynamics we once struggled with. If our parent was emotionally distant, we may find ourselves drawn to partners who give us just enough attention to keep us hoping, but not enough to make us feel secure. If love in childhood was tied to performance, being good enough, obedient enough, successful enough, we may unconsciously chase partners who make us feel like we constantly have to earn their affection. This is not coincidence, it is repetition. The mind and body seek out the familiar, even if the familiar once caused pain. The irony is that our attraction often feels strongest toward those who replicate these old wounds. Someone who is fully available, loving, and consistent may feel strangely uncomfortable. We may even dismiss them as boring, without realizing that our nervous system has simply been conditioned to equate chaos with passion. This is why people who are clearly wrong for us can feel so magnetically right. They activate the patterns buried deep in our subconscious, and the intensity feels like love when it is often just reenactment of unfinished business from childhood. In many cases, the chase is not about the person at all. It's about trying to resolve an old story. It's the inner child whispering this time, maybe the unavailable person will choose me. This time, maybe I'll be enough. But the ending rarely changes because we are not actually healing, we are repeating. Until we recognize the grip of these childhood imprints, we keep chasing versions of the same story, hoping for a different outcome. True freedom comes when we realize that the love we didn't get back then cannot be earned in someone else's arms now. It must be given to ourselves first. The chemistry of the chase is not just emotional, it's biological. At the heart of it lies dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, the very substance that drives us to seek pleasure, novelty, and excitement. But dopamine doesn't spike in response to certainty, it thrives on unpredictability, on not knowing what's coming next. This is why gambling is addictive, why slot machines pull people in for hours, why cliffhangers keep us glued to a series. It's not the reward itself that captivates us, it's the possibility of it, the anticipation, the tension between maybe and maybe not. Relationships with people who are wrong for us often mimic this very dynamic. When someone is inconsistent, one day showering us with affection, the next disappearing without explanation, our brain goes into overdrive. Every unanswered text, every long pause, every sudden burst of attention becomes a psychological slot machine. The moment they finally respond after silence, the dopamine rush hits like a jackpot. It feels euphoric, intoxicating, addictive. Yet the very cycle that gives us these highs is also what keeps us trapped in lows. The brain becomes hooked on chasing the next unpredictable reward, mistaking it for passion, when in truth it's just a chemical reaction to inconsistency. What makes this trap even more powerful is that the lows intensify the highs. The more uncertainty we experience, the more electrifying the smallest crumbs of attention feel. A short message can feel like proof of love. A brief call can feel like a miracle. This contrast keeps us hooked far more effectively than steady affection ever could. To a dopamine-driven brain, stability doesn't provide enough stimulation. Chaos feels alive, and consistency feels flat, even though the latter is what truly sustains healthy love. Many people confuse this dopamine cycle with deep connection. They believe that the intensity must mean destiny, that the roller coaster of emotions is a sign of true passion. But it's not destiny, it's chemistry. The thrill of uncertainty can mimic the feeling of falling in love, yet it often leads us straight into relationships that are harmful, draining, and unfulfilling. Breaking free requires seeing the pattern for what it is, a biological trick, not a soulful bond. Once we recognize that the dopamine rush is temporary, we can begin to detach from the thrill of unpredictability and instead learn to appreciate the quieter, steadier rhythm of genuine connection. Because love isn't supposed to feel like a gamble. It's supposed to feel like home. At the core of the chase often lies the ego, quietly steering us toward people who do not value us, yet making us believe that winning them over will finally prove something about who we are. The ego is deeply concerned with image, with worth, with being seen and validated by the outside world. When someone shows disinterest or withholds affection, it doesn't just sting. It threatens our sense of identity. Instead of stepping back and recognizing their lack of alignment, the ego frames it as a challenge. If I can get this person to love me, then I must truly be worthy. What follows is not love, but an unconscious mission to repair a fragile sense of self. This illusion is powerful because it disguises itself as passion. The more someone resists us, the more the ego insists that they are a prize. Their attention becomes a symbol of our value, and their rejection becomes a wound we are desperate to heal. We may even convince ourselves that if they finally choose us, all the doubts, insecurities, and feelings of unworthiness within us will disappear. But the truth is, even if they turn around and give us what we wanted, the relief is short-lived. The emptiness returns because the approval of another can never permanently fix the doubts we carry inside. What makes this cycle even more dangerous is how easily we project qualities onto the person we are chasing. Instead of seeing them as they are, flawed, inconsistent, perhaps emotionally unavailable, we inflate their worth in our minds. We tell ourselves stories: they are special, they are the one, they are worth every ounce of effort. But much of this narrative is the ego's fabrication, built not on reality, but on the desperate need to feel significant. It's less about them and more about what they represent: a chance to prove ourselves lovable, desirable enough. Yet this illusion keeps us trapped. It makes us chase not from the heart, but from a wound disguised as desire. The more we seek validation externally, the further we drift from true love, which can only grow where acceptance and reciprocity exist. Breaking free requires confronting the ego's game, admitting that the chase is not about love at all, but about trying to silence the voice inside that doubts our worth. When we begin to nourish that worth from within, the illusion shatters, and the need to chase those who are wrong for us dissolves with it. There's a paradox many people face without realizing it: the very thing they claim to want, steady, supportive, unconditional love, can feel uncomfortable, even threatening, when it actually shows up. This is the hidden fear of healthy love. On the surface, everyone says they want a partner who is consistent, who shows up, who provides safety and care. Yet for someone whose nervous system has been shaped by instability, that steadiness doesn't feel natural. It feels foreign. The body craves the adrenaline of highs and lows, the drama of uncertainty, the thrill of unpredictability. So when healthy love appears, it can be dismissed as too easy or boring, not because it lacks depth, but because the absence of chaos feels suspicious. For people wired this way, stability can even trigger anxiety. When someone is consistently kind, the mind begins to search for flaws, to question motives, to assume it's too good to be true. Instead of relaxing into the security, the nervous system goes on alert. The voice of doubt whispers, what if they leave? What if I can't trust this? What if love isn't supposed to feel this calm? In truth, these doubts are not about the partner. They are about the unresolved conditioning from the past. Healthy love doesn't feel unsafe, it feels unfamiliar. This fear often drives people back toward toxic dynamics. The chaos, though painful, feels like home. The unpredictability, though draining, feels more real than the steady presence of someone who shows up every day. It's as if the nervous system would rather suffer in the known than risk peace in the unknown. And so, many people sabotage good relationships, pushing away those who are genuinely right for them, while clinging tightly to those who are wrong. Not because they love the wrong person more, but because their inner wiring mistakes chaos for love. The tragedy is that healthy love is exactly what the heart longs for beneath the noise of fear. It is calm, safe, nurturing, and reciprocal. It does not demand constant chasing or prove your worth games. But to accept it requires a deep shift, a willingness to retrain the nervous system, to embrace calm as safe rather than suspicious, to unlearn the addiction to emotional roller coasters. Only then can love be seen for what it truly is, not a battlefield to survive, but a sanctuary to grow in. Until that shift happens, the fear of healthy love will keep pulling us back toward those who cannot give us what we deserve. Breaking the cycle begins with awareness, with the brave decision to look inward and ask why we keep running after the very people who wound us. Most people repeat unhealthy patterns without ever questioning them because the pull feels so natural, so familiar, but what feels natural is not always what is healthy. The first step is noticing the pattern, the tendency to be drawn to people who are unavailable, inconsistent, or unkind, and then mistaking that draw for destiny. Naming the cycle breaks its invisibility. Once we see it, we can no longer pretend it's simply bad luck in love. The next step is honesty. Instead of asking, why don't they love me back? The more powerful question is, why do I keep choosing someone who doesn't? That question shifts the focus from them to us, from their behavior to our choices. And in that shift lies power, because we cannot control how others love, But we can control what we allow, what we pursue, and what we accept as love. It takes courage to admit that sometimes the chase isn't about love at all. It's about wounds, fears, or the ego's illusions. That honesty is painful, but it's also liberating. Healing the cycle requires nurturing the very thing we've been chasing in others, our own sense of worth. When we begin to validate ourselves, to show up consistently for our own needs, we stop hungering for scraps of attention from people who can't truly meet us. Self-worth becomes the anchor, and with it, we stop confusing chaos for passion. It doesn't mean the pull toward the wrong person disappears overnight, but it does mean we can recognize it, pause, and choose differently. Each time we choose differently, the pattern weakens. Finally, breaking the cycle demands patience and compassion. These patterns are not undone in a single moment of clarity. They are rewired slowly through repeated acts of self-respect and healthier choices. It may feel strange at first to embrace stability, to lean into calm, to let love be safe instead of dramatic. But over time, what once felt boring begins to feel like peace. What once felt foreign begins to feel like home. The cycle ends not when the right person suddenly appears, but when we have grown strong enough within ourselves to no longer chase what is wrong. That strength invites the love that is right,